This story is titled, Spoiled Sister Demands My Lake House for Her Honeymoon Because Parents Said So. Hey everyone, I just wanted to share something real with you. The channel's been slowing down a bit recently, and honestly, I put a lot of time and effort into finding these stories to keep bringing you the best content. If you enjoy what I do, it would mean the world if you hit that subscribe button. Your support really makes all the difference and keeps this journey going strong. Thanks so much for being here with me. Now let's start the video. OP starts by saying, after my grandparents passed away, my parents inherited their lake house. They kept it as a vacation spot, though we didn't visit as much as we used to. Life got busier, and as my sister and I got older, our schedules didn't line up as easily. By 2017, the house was mostly empty. My parents didn't really go up there anymore, and it seemed like they were holding onto it more out of sentimentality than anything else. At the time, I was 26 and looking for my first home. I'd been saving since I got my first job at 20 and had finally built up enough for a down payment. My parents knew I was house hunting, so when my dad called me one evening, I figured he wanted to check in. Instead, he hit me with an offer I wasn't expecting. "So, have you found a house yet?" he asked. "Not yet," I replied. "Still looking." "Well, your mom and I were talking, and we think you should buy the lake house." I was stunned. "Wait, what? You're selling it?" He hesitated before explaining. My sister had just gotten into her dream college, and everyone was still riding the high of that excitement. But apparently, the reality of paying for it was starting to sink in. She hadn't gotten the scholarship she was counting on, and my parents couldn't afford to cover the full cost of tuition. They didn't want her taking out student loans because they believed it would ruin her credit. So their solution was to sell the lake house and use the money to pay for her education. At first, I didn't know how to respond. The lake house wasn't just a piece of property. It was part of our family history. Selling it felt wrong, like we were giving up a piece of ourselves. But my dad framed it as a win-win. "We'd rather sell it to you than to some stranger," he said. "You love that house, and it would still stay in the family." I'll admit, I was tempted. I had so many good memories tied to that house, and the idea of someone else owning it didn't sit well with me. But at the same time, it felt like I was being put in an awkward position. My sister's education was on the line, and they were making it clear that buying the house would be a way to help her. It wasn't just about the house. It was about stepping up for the family. I asked them why they couldn't sell something else or explore other options, but they insisted this was the best choice. "It's just sitting there anyway," my mom added. "You'd be doing us all a favor." After a lot of thought and some guilt tripping from my parents, I agreed. They sold the house to me at a family discount, though it still wiped out most of my savings. I told myself it was worth it. I loved that house, and I didn't want to see it leave the family. Plus, I figured I'd be helping my sister in the process. Win-win, right? Well, not exactly. The first few months after the sale were a whirlwind. The house needed a lot of work to make it livable year-round. The plumbing was outdated, the roof had leaks, and there was no internet, which was a huge problem for me since I work remotely in IT. I spent almost every weekend at the hardware store and every evening watching YouTube tutorials to figure out how to fix things. My dad helped with a few of the bigger projects, like replacing the roof, but most of it was on me. It was exhausting and expensive, but it was also satisfying to see the house come together. By the time I officially moved in, it didn't feel like a vacation house anymore. It felt like my home. I put my own stamp on the place. Fresh paint, new furniture, and a few modern upgrades like a smart thermostat and better lighting. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine, and that made all the difference. Living at the lake house full-time was a big adjustment. For one thing, it was a lot quieter than I was used to. Growing up, the house was always filled with people, family, friends, and sometimes even neighbors who'd drop by for a barbecue. Now, it was just me. The silence was eerie at first, but over time, I grew to love it. There's something peaceful about waking up to the sound of birds instead of car horns and falling asleep to the gentle lapping of water against the shore. I developed new routines, like having my morning coffee on the porch while watching the sunrise or taking evening walks along the lake. On weekends, I'd fish off the dock or take the canoe out for a paddle. It wasn't the most exciting lifestyle, but it was exactly what I needed. After years of working in the city and dealing with constant noise and stress, the quiet felt like a blessing. But even as I settled into my new life, I couldn't shake the feeling that my family still saw the house as theirs. My mom would occasionally call and say things like, "It's so nice that you get to live there rent-free," as if I hadn't paid for the house with my own money. My dad would make comments about how he hoped I wasn't changing too much, and how he wanted the house to stay true to its roots. At first, I brushed it off. I figured they just needed time to adjust to the idea that the house wasn't theirs anymore. Then came the requests. My parents started asking if they could use the house for weekend getaways, or if my sister could bring her friends up for a short trip. I usually said yes to keep the peace, but it always felt a little off. This wasn't a vacation home anymore. It was my home, and yet they acted like I was just borrowing it from them. By 2019, the house had become more than just a place to live. It was where I'd built my life, and I was proud of what I'd accomplished. That's when Taylor, my significant other, moved in. We'd been together for a while, and moving in together felt like the natural next step. Taylor loved the house as much as I did, and having someone to share it with made it even better. We started working on little projects together, like planting a garden in the backyard and building a fire pit by the lake. We'd spend evenings sitting by the fire, roasting marshmallows and talking about our future. It felt like the kind of life I'd always wanted. Simple, peaceful, and full of small joys. Taylor also helped me see the house in a new light. While I'd been focused on preserving its history, Taylor encouraged me to make it more personal. We hung up some of our favorite photos, added a few quirky decorations, and even painted the front door a bright blue. It was a small change, but it made the house feel uniquely ours. Around the same time Taylor moved in, my sister announced her engagement. She'd been dating Mark, her college boyfriend, for a couple of years, and everyone in the family loved him. My parents especially were over the moon. My mom immediately started talking about wedding plans, and my dad was already figuring out how to help pay for it. The engagement was all anyone in the family could talk about. Every phone call, every group chat, every holiday gathering. It was all wedding, all the time. I didn't mind though. My sister seemed genuinely happy, and Mark was a good guy. I agreed to be part of the bridal party, and Taylor and I even started looking for nice gifts to give them. At first, everything seemed fine. The wedding was originally planned for 2020, but like a lot of things that year, it got postponed. My sister rescheduled it for December 2021, and everyone was relieved to have something to look forward to. I thought we'd finally reached a point where the lake house drama was behind us, but I couldn't have been more wrong. Looking back, there were signs that my family hadn't fully accepted the fact that the lake house was mine. My mom still referred to it as the family lake house, and my dad would occasionally drop hints about how much they missed going up there. I tried to ignore it, telling myself that they didn't mean anything by it, but deep down, I knew it was only a matter of time before this became a problem again. By the time my sister's wedding planning kicked into high gear, I started to feel like I was walking on eggshells around my family. My parents' focus on my sister was as strong as ever, and I knew they'd do anything to make her happy. What I didn't expect was just how far they'd go, and how much they'd ask of me. A few weeks before my sister's wedding, I was sitting on the porch with Taylor, enjoying a quiet evening. Life at the lake house was peaceful, and I thought the wedding chaos was happening far enough away that it wouldn't reach us. My parents were busy helping my sister finalize everything, and I assumed my role in the bridal party was all set. Then I got a call from my sister that completely blindsided me. At first, the conversation was normal enough. Small talk about the wedding, how excited she was, and a few comments about how much work still needed to be done. Then she casually dropped the question that turned everything upside down. "So," she said, "where are you and Taylor staying for the 2 weeks after the wedding?" I frowned, confused. At home? Why?" She sighed, like I was being dense. "That's not going to work. Mark and I will be staying at the lake house for our honeymoon." For a second, I thought I'd misheard her. "Wait, what? You're staying where?" "At the lake house," she repeated, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Mom and Dad said it would be fine." I was stunned. "Mom and Dad said it was fine? It's not their house to offer. It's mine." She brushed that off like it didn't matter. "It's perfect for a honeymoon. It's private, romantic, and we won't have to spend money on a hotel. Plus, you and Taylor can go stay somewhere else for a couple of weeks. It's not like you don't have options." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You're asking me to leave my own home for 2 weeks so you can have a free honeymoon? Are you serious right now?" Her tone shifted, becoming defensive. "It's not a big deal, Michael. We're family. You've had the house for years. Can't you do this one thing for me? It's my wedding." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my cool. I'm not leaving my home so you and Mark can stay here. If you want a romantic honeymoon, book a hotel like everyone else." That's when she started guilt-tripping me. She went on about how her wedding wasn't going to be exactly what she'd dreamed of because of all the delays, and now I was making it worse. She said I was being selfish and ruining her special time. When that didn't work, she got angry. "Fine," she snapped. "If you're going to act like this, I'll just take you out of the bridal party." I shrugged. "Do what you need to do. That seemed to throw her off. She was expecting me to backtrack, but I didn't. After a few seconds of silence, she hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, half expecting my parents to call next. And sure enough, they did. My mom was the first to call, and she wasted no time getting straight to the point. "What's this I hear about you refusing to let your sister use the lake house for her honeymoon?" she demanded. "Mom, it's my house. She didn't even ask me. She just assumed she could stay here. That's not how this works. It's the family lake house," she snapped. "We've always shared it, and it's not like you'd be giving it up forever. It's just 2 weeks. Why are you being so difficult?" I could feel my frustration building. "It's not the family lake house anymore. You sold it to me in 2017, remember? I paid for it, and I've been living here ever since. You can't just decide who gets to stay here." "She's your sister, Michael," my mom said, her voice dripping with disappointment. "She didn't get the wedding she wanted, and now you're ruining her honeymoon too. Don't you want to make her happy?" "No, Mom," I said firmly. "I don't think it's my responsibility to give up my home so she can have a free honeymoon. That's insane." She didn't have much to say after that, but I could tell she was fuming. She hung up, and a few hours later, my dad called. His approach was less emotional, but just as frustrating. "Michael, your mom and I think you're making a mistake," he said. "This is about family. Your sister deserves this after everything she's been through." "Dad, I've already done plenty for her," I replied. "Do you remember why you sold me the house in the first place? It was to pay for her college tuition. I've already helped her more than enough." "That was years ago," he said, brushing it off. "This is different. It's her wedding. You're not going to let her down over something as small as this, are you?" "Small? You're asking me to leave my own home for 2 weeks. That's not small, Dad. That's a huge ask, and it's completely unreasonable." He sighed heavily. "I just don't understand why you're being so stubborn about this." At that point, I was done. I'm not being stubborn. I'm setting a boundary. This is my home, and I'm not letting anyone tell me what to do with it. The next day, my sister texted me to let me know I was officially uninvited from the wedding. She accused me of being selfish and trying to ruin her happiness. According to her, I was the reason she couldn't have the honeymoon of her dreams. I didn't bother responding. What was the point? She'd made up her mind, and nothing I said was going to change it. Taylor was just as frustrated as I was. "I don't understand how they don't see how ridiculous this is," she said. "It's your house. You shouldn't have to explain yourself." She was right, but that didn't make it any easier. My parents kept calling, alternating between guilt-tripping and outright shaming me. They made it clear that they thought I was in the wrong, and nothing I said could convince them otherwise. It was exhausting, but I refused to back down. I wasn't going to let my family guilt me into giving up my home. The days following my sister's announcement that I was uninvited from her wedding were tense, to put it lightly. It wasn't just the silence from her that got to me. It was the barrage of calls and texts from my parents. They seemed determined to break me down, hammering the same points over and over like a broken record. According to them, I was selfish, inconsiderate, and worst of all, a bad brother. Every time my phone buzzed, I felt my blood pressure spike. My mom's messages were the worst. She would start with something like, "I'm so disappointed in you," and then launch into a guilt trip about how my sister had already been through so much with the delays to her wedding. It always ended with some variation of, "Can't you just do this one thing for her?" My dad wasn't much better. He left a voicemail one evening that nearly made me throw my phone across the room. "Michael," he said in his most serious dad voice, "this is about family. Your sister deserves to have her special moment, and you're the one standing in the way. I hope you think long and hard about what kind of brother you want to be." I didn't bother calling him back. I was too angry to have a productive conversation. Instead, I vented to Taylor. "They're acting like I'm the villain in all of this," I said, pacing the living room. "They don't care that I've already sacrificed for her. They don't care that this is my house. All they care about is making her happy, no matter what it costs me." Taylor nodded sympathetically. "It's not fair," she said. "You've done more than enough for your sister. They can't keep asking you to give up more. At some point, they have to respect your boundaries." She was right, of course, but that didn't make it any easier to deal with. I was caught between wanting to stand my ground and feeling like the bad guy for upsetting my family. It didn't help that my sister was playing the victim, posting cryptic messages on social media about how her special day was being ruined by selfishness. In the middle of all this, I got a call from my Aunt Carol, my mom's sister. She's always been the more grounded one in the family, and I hoped she might offer some perspective. After a few minutes of catching up, she said, "So, I hear there's some drama going on with the wedding." I laughed bitterly. "You could say that. I told her everything. how my sister wanted to use the lake house for her honeymoon, how my parents backed her up without even asking me, and how it all spiraled out of control when I said no. I didn't hold back, venting about the entitlement and the constant guilt tripping from my parents. When I finished, there was a long pause. Then Aunt Carol said, "Michael, I'm going to be honest with you. Your parents are way out of line here. That house is yours. You paid for it. They have no right to treat it like a family freebie just because it used to belong to your grandparents." Hearing her say that felt like a weight off my shoulders. For weeks, I'd been drowning in guilt, questioning whether I was the one in the wrong. But here was someone in my family who actually understood where I was coming from. "I've been trying to explain that to them," I said, "but they just don't listen. They keep acting like I owe my sister this one thing, even though I've already done plenty for her." "You don't owe her anything," Aunt Carol said firmly. "Your parents have always babied her, and this is the result. They've set her up to expect the world on a silver platter, and now they're upset because you're not playing along. That's not your problem, Michael. Stand your ground." Her words gave me the clarity I needed. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I wasn't crazy for standing up for myself. My parents and sister could throw all the tantrums they wanted. I wasn't going to budge. The wedding came and went, and as expected, I wasn't there. My parents didn't reach out, and neither did my sister. I saw a few photos on social media, and it looked like a beautiful ceremony. My sister was beaming, and my parents looked proud but tired, probably from all the stress they'd been under. A small part of me felt sad about missing it, but mostly I felt relieved to have avoided the drama. Taylor and I spent that weekend at the lake house, enjoying the quiet. We went out on the lake, cooked a fancy dinner, and watched a movie together. It was simple and relaxing, exactly what I needed after weeks of tension. For once, I didn't feel like I was walking on eggshells around my family. A few days after the wedding, my mom called. I let it go to voicemail, not ready to deal with whatever guilt trip she had planned. When I finally listened to the message, it was exactly what I expected. She sounded sad, almost defeated. "Michael," she said, "we missed you at the wedding. Your sister's still upset, and I don't know if things will ever be the same between you two. I just hope you realize how much this has hurt her. And us. We raised you to care about family, and this isn't the Michael we know." I deleted the message without responding. I knew what she was trying to do, and I wasn't going to let it get to me. My parents had made their choice, and I'd made mine. If they couldn't respect my boundaries, that was on them, not me. Final update. After the wedding, I thought the drama might start to fade. But of course, I underestimated my family's ability to hold a grudge. My mom and dad continued their campaign of guilt tripping, though it shifted from outright anger to a tone of disappointment, like I'd personally betrayed them. One day, about a week after the wedding, I got another voicemail from my mom. "Michael," she said, her voice soft but firm, "I don't know why you're doing this. Your sister is devastated. She thought you'd be there for her, but instead, you let her down. I don't know how we're going to move forward from this." I rolled my eyes as I listened to it. By this point, their words didn't sting as much as they used to. I'd spent too much time second-guessing myself, wondering if I really was the selfish one in this situation. But after everything, I knew I wasn't. This wasn't about me being selfish. It was about them refusing to respect boundaries. Taylor, as always, was my rock. "You don't owe them anything," she reminded me one evening as we sat by the fire pit we'd built together. "You've done more than enough for your sister. They just can't handle the fact that you're finally saying no." It was true. For years, I'd been the reliable one, the one they could count on to step up when things got tough. My sister, on the other hand, had always been coddled. My parents bent over backward to make sure she was happy, even if it meant putting me on the back burner. I'd gotten used to it, but this time, they'd gone too far. A few days later, I got a text from my sister. I wasn't sure what to expect when I opened it. Maybe another accusation or some passive-aggressive remark, but instead, it caught me off guard. "Hey," she wrote, "I didn't know the lake house was legally yours. Mom and Dad told me you were just living there rent-free. I didn't realize they sold it to pay for my college. I'm sorry for assuming I could use it without asking." It wasn't exactly an apology, but it was a step in the right direction. She seemed to finally understand the bigger picture, and for that, I was grateful. I thought carefully about how to respond. I didn't want to rehash the entire argument, but I also didn't want to let her off the hook completely. Eventually, I settled on something simple. "Thanks for reaching out. I hope you and Mark are happy together. Let me know if you ever want to talk." She didn't reply, but I didn't take it personally. At least she'd acknowledged the situation, even if it didn't fix everything. Over the next few weeks, things started to settle down. My parents still weren't speaking to me much, but that was fine by me. I needed the space. Taylor and I focused on our life at the lake house, throwing ourselves into small projects and planning for the future. It felt good to let go of the drama and focus on what really mattered. One afternoon, I got a call from my Aunt Carol. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "Better," I said. "I think things are finally calming down." "I'm glad to hear that," she said. "Just remember, you're not the bad guy here. Your parents and sister might not see it yet, but you've done the right thing by standing up for yourself. Don't let them make you doubt that." Her words stuck with me. For so long, I'd been so focused on keeping the peace that I'd ignored my own needs. But this situation had forced me to draw a line, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty about putting myself first. Looking back, this whole ordeal taught me a lot about boundaries and self-respect. My family may never fully understand my perspective, and that's okay. What matters is that I've finally learned to stand my ground. The lake house is more than just a house. It's my home. It's where Taylor and I have built our life, and I'm not going to let anyone take that away from me. I don't know what the future holds for my relationship with my parents and sister. Maybe things will improve over time, or maybe they won't. Either way, I'm at peace with my decision. For now, I'm focusing on the life Taylor and I are building together. It's not perfect, but it's ours, and that's enough.